Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a pleasure to welcome you to the commencement ceremony of Utah State University Uintah Basin. Please join me in thanking the White Peaks Centennial Pipe Band as they exit. My name is Boyd Edwards, Dean and Executive Director. It is my privilege to represent the faculty, staff, students, and friends of USU Uintah Basin. We express gratitude to the owners and operators of Strata VTV Television who are broadcasting these proceedings. We also thank Uintah School District and Vernal Middle School for the use of this wonderful facility. It is now my privilege to extend a special welcome to our distinguished guests. We have today with us Stan L. Albrecht, President of Utah State University. Our keynote speaker is Kenneth G. Anderton, whom we will introduce more fully later. From the Utah State Board of Regents, Brady Harris and Mark Stoddard. From Utah State University Board of Trustees, Ron Gibson, Chair, Jody Burnett, Linda Gilmore, and Frank Peasy. From the Utah State University Administration, Robert T. Behunin, Vice President for Advancement and Commercialization, Lisa Barreau, Interim Dean of the College of Science, Larry Smith, Executive Senior Vice President, Robert Wagner, Executive Vice Provost and Dean of Academic and Instructional Services, Janet Anderson, Vice Provost, David Wolstenhume, Vice Provost, Richard Inouye, Associate Vice President and Associate Dean for the Research and Graduate Studies, David Clark, Associate Vice President of Alumni Relations, Sydney Peterson, Chief of Staff, Eric Hawley, Chief Information Officer, and other department heads and representatives from USU Central Administration. We welcome the many friends of Utah State University Uintah Basin, the many civic and educational leaders, and the members of our local Dean's Council. We welcome our USU faculty members who devote themselves to teaching and inspiring our students. Please join me in thanking them for their efforts. And we welcome the many family members and friends who make the personal sacrifices needed to help our students succeed. Please join me in thanking them for their support. Thank you. We will now ask the Utah Army National Guard 624th Engineer Company to post the colors, after which we ask you to remain standing while Carla Clevenger leads you in singing our national anthem, accompanied by the Basin Brass Quintet, which is providing the beautiful music today. Please rise.
Present. Oh.
Thank you, 624th Engineer Company, and thank you, Basin Brass Quintet. We are here to honor the 106 students who will be graduating today. 4 of these received awards that were presented earlier. I ask these individuals to please stand as their names are read. Please hold your applause until all have been announced. Kathy Mangum, Outstanding Undergraduate Student Award and the Legacy of Utah State Award. Aaron Brown, Outstanding Graduate Student Award. Alyssa Bauer, Outstanding Student Teacher Award, and Cherie Meyer, Facilitator of the Year Award. Please join me in recognizing these 4 outstanding individuals for their accomplishments. Thank you. It is now my honor to introduce our keynote speaker. Kenneth Anderton, a vernal attorney, is a longtime champion of USU in the Uintah Basin. Kenneth earned his undergraduate and master's degrees from USU and a law degree from University of Utah. He is former chair of the Utah State Board of Regents, former chair of USU's Board of Trustees, and former member of the Uintah Basin Campus Advisory Board. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kenneth G. Anderton.
Most of us are familiar with the Tower of Parliament in England and the great clock that sits on top called Big Ben. The bell of Big Ben is 7 feet high and weighs 26,000 pounds. As it strikes the hour, the sound can be heard for more than 4 miles. For you music buffs, it chimes in the key of E. Someone has pointed out that there are thousands of quiet moments between the striking of the hours. Well, graduates, thousands of these quiet moments have gone by as you have sweat, toiled, sacrificed, and now have arrived at this striking hour of your graduation. We celebrate today your great accomplishments. We can also go back and celebrate founding fathers such as Benjamin Franklin, who advocated for free public schools. We can celebrate Thomas Jefferson, who believed and was successful in influencing the Constitution with a structure of government so the common man would have an opportunity to better reach his potential through education. Jefferson called common men and women who had the intellect and talent to rise to the top a natural aristocracy, contrasted with those who attained their status through high birth and wealth, which he called an artificial aristocracy. We celebrate today the passage of the Morrill Act of 1862, signed by Abraham Lincoln, which provided grants of federal land to every state and territory that would agree to establish at least one college to teach agriculture and mechanical arts, along with other scientific and classical subjects. The land-grant concept has now continued its historic mission in Utah through Utah State University and has combined with the roles of teaching, research, and extension to centers such as this. We also celebrate the visionary leaders of Utah State University who have supported these centers and have created educational opportunities through the Uintah Basin Center now for almost 50 years. We express appreciation to USU President Stan Albrecht, USU's provost, vice presidents, and staff who understand and extend the spirit of the land-grant concept to all of us in this area. We express appreciation to Dean Boyd Edwards and all of those dedicated individuals who make it happen here today. This is a great celebration for education and this center. I have observed the influence of Utah State University in the basin for many years. It has had a profound impact not only on education, but on the culture of the basin. I have a deep affection for Utah State University. I have both a Bachelor of Science degree and a Master of Arts degree. It is truly my alma mater. We celebrate today the human heart and the human mind. The world we are living in today is a world full of challenges. Hordes of some of the worst terrorists in history are sweeping across the Middle East, brutally murdering innocent men, women, and children, Christians and non-Christians alike. Iran is presenting a deeply troubling nuclear threat. You could hardly say our own government is running like a finely tuned machine. The legislative branch is deeply entrenched in political gridlock. The executive branch seems to be continually testing the limits of its executive powers. Members of the Supreme Court are divided on critical constitutional issues. But we have been through these kind of challenges before. In the last 100 years, some of you won't be able to remember all of this, we have survived and even prevailed in 2 world wars, a number of major conflicts, including Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and Afghanistan. We have survived the impeachment of a president of the United States, demonstrating clearly that no man is above the law. We have survived the Great Depression of the 30s and several deep recessions since. And we will survive the critical challenges which confront us now. When the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, President Franklin D. Roosevelt sounded a clarion call to the American people that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. In my freshman year at Utah State University, I read the acceptance speech of the American author William Faulkner upon receiving the Nobel Prize for Literature. It was directed to young writers, but it can apply to all of us today. I was impressed then, as I still now am, with his statement, quote, "Our tragedy today is a general and universal physical fear, so long sustained by now that we can even bear it. There are no longer problems of the spirit. There is only the question, when will I be blown up? Because of this, the young man or woman writing today has forgotten the problems of the human heart in conflict with itself, which alone can make good writing, because only that is worth writing about, worth the agony and the sweat. We must learn them again. We must teach ourselves that the basest of all things is to be afraid, and teaching ourselves that, forget it forever, leaving no room in our workshops for anything but the old verities and truths of the heart, the old universal truths lacking which any story is ephemeral and doomed. Love, honor, pity, pride, compassion, and sacrifice. Until we recognize these old verities, we labor under a curse. We write not of love, but of lust, of defeats in which nobody loses anything of value, of victories without hope, and worst of all, without pity or compassion. Our griefs grieve on no universal bones, leaving no scars. We write not of the heart, but of the glands. I decline to accept the end of man. I believe that man will not merely endure, he will prevail. He is immortal not because he alone among creatures has an inexhaustible voice, but because he has a soul, a spirit capable of compassion and sacrifice and endurance. Fear can cause us to lose the strength we need to fight the battles of life. So we must go forward with courage and not involve ourselves in what Faulkner described as the basest of all things, being afraid. We live in a society today with too much commitment to political correctness, neutrality, ambiguity. As newscaster Ted Koppel stated in a graduation address at Duke University, in place of truth, we have discovered information. For moral absolutes, we have substituted moral ambiguity. We can now communicate with everyone and say absolutely nothing. We have reconstructed the Tower of Babel, and it is a television antenna in which everyone's opinion is afforded equal time and weight, regardless of substance or merit. If there's anything that's needed in our society today, It's the courage to speak the truth in an effective way. Winston Churchill said, "Men occasionally stumble over the truth, but most of them pick themselves up and hurry off as if nothing had happened." We all know that we must continue to explore our individual universes. I like the old anecdote about the two astronomers. The first astronomer, do you have any allergies? Sorry. The first astronomer said to the second astronomer, "Astronomically speaking, man is nothing more than a speck in the universe." A wiser second astronomer replied, "But astronomically speaking, man is the astronomer." We all know our education is not complete as you graduate today, because if we were educated yesterday and do nothing today, we will be less educated tomorrow. When I moved to Vernal, Utah more than 40 years ago, there was a man named Andy McConkey, and I heard him tell this story. He was the supervisor of the Ashley National Forest. In those days, the supervisor had to fill out a daily timesheet and make entries as to what he did during each hour. One day, a couple of his staff had been at each other's throats, and he was sitting there trying to evaluate what he could do to solve the problem. So during an hour on his timesheet, he made the entry for that hour, thinking. He sent the timesheet to the regional office in Ogden for review, and it came back with a critical notation in the margin by that entry: not an acceptable activity. I'm certain that all of us believe that thinking is an acceptable activity. The world is changing rapidly, and we are changing rapidly as well. The integration of these centers with the academic colleges and departmental programs from the main campus is predicated on the reality that education and learning are a lifetime process. T.H. Bell reminds us that there are more than 50 million American families in these United States where no family member has ever earned a college degree. We just know there are many talented people who are not availing themselves of the opportunity to get a college education. That's just one more reason why these centers are so important. It's a reality that a young college graduate today will need to prepare for several careers during their lifetime. The world is changing and evolving so rapidly that we must adapt and be ready to change and tailor our careers to the changes we meet in our lifetimes. When I started practicing law more than 40 years ago, we did not have copy machines or computers or typewriters with any memory capacity. I bought an IBM memory typewriter years ago. It could store 50 legal-sized pages. I paid $5,700 for it. Now we have reasonably priced computers with more gigabytes RAM and gigahertz than I can comprehend. Let's not overlook the human mind. Continue to celebrate the human mind. I remember a speech given by USU President Stan Kazir about 25 years ago when he compared the state of the art of computers at that time with the human mind. He related that for the technology at that time to produce a computer duplicating the synapses in the human brain, it would take a computer the size of Texas 100 feet high. Well, with the advance in technology, may only need to be the size of the state of Delaware these days, 100 feet high. But let's always remember and celebrate the human mind. In the quiet moments of our lives, perhaps in the early morning hours, when the world is not too much with us, we can contemplate the value of education. Those of us who have felt the unfolding within ourselves as we have been educated who view the world with greater understanding because we have had chemistry, physics, and other science, who have the advantage of an historical perspective, who feel the common bond of the ages through music, literature, and art. We have a duty to pass that on to our children and their children. The German philosopher Wolfgang von Goethe stated that nothing is more terrible than to see ignorance in action. As an attorney observing the steady parade of defendants through the criminal courts, I am continually reminded of the value of education in our society. For example, I have observed an 18-year-old alcoholic who is almost totally illiterate, a 40-year-old mother on welfare because she has no literary skills to find employment, a 21-year-old drug addict who has already spent 3 years in the Colorado State Penitentiary, a 17-year-old who already has 33 felonies to his credit. These experiences remind me that ignorance is always more costly than education. Our attitude should be like the attitude of the great American jurist Oliver Wendell Holmes, who sat on the United States Supreme Court years ago. He was visited by a friend when he was 94 years of age, and his friend found him reading Plato, the ancient Greek philosopher. His friend said, "Oliver, why are you reading Plato at your age?" Oliver Wendell Holmes replied, "To improve my mind." This should be our attitude. Well, graduates, if you listen carefully, in your mind's ear, you'll hear Big Ben ringing for you. I congratulate you on the striking hour of your graduation and wish you every success in your respective areas of endeavor.
Thank you, Ken. It is now our privilege to hear from two members of our graduating class. We will hear first from Aaron Brown and then from Kathy Mangum.
"20 years ago, I first walked to Pomp and Circumstance played on my behalf. Naturally, as most 17-year-olds confidently do, I had my entire life mapped out. I would attend college, graduate, get married, and teach until I had children and became a stay-at-home mom, and of course live happily ever after. 4 years later, as I once again found myself marching ceremoniously to the same tune, things were pretty well on track. I had completed my bachelor's degree in elementary education from Utah State University in Logan and was engaged to be married later that summer. Having survived, rather successfully, I reminded myself, the excitement, changes, and stress of campus life, I eagerly anticipated the next phase in my plan. However, life is unpredictable, and I soon found that my plan was to be altered and embellished more than once. 3 years later, after having moved across the country with my husband for his PhD, we had our first child, and I stopped teaching and began staying home. Though farther from family than I had once imagined, things were still on schedule for my happily ever after. Another 3 years passed, and our daughter was born. As I enjoyed motherhood, I realized that my education and resultant few years of teaching experience had equipped me with many skills which I found incredibly useful. But based on what I had learned of child development, we began to realize that our son had significant delays, eventually discovering that he had a rare and progressive genetic disorder. His treatment required hours of therapy every week and countless visits to doctors and specialists in addition to his preschool. This was a major game changer, and while I was still able to be a stay-at-home mom, we were rarely actually at home. It was through participation in his speech therapy sessions, however, that I found a new passion and made another big course adjustment. I would become a speech-language pathologist. Luckily, I was able to earn a second bachelor's degree in communicative disorders through Utah State, despite living in Pittsburgh at the time. The flexibility of this online program allowed me to care for my 2 small children and attend Ian's therapy while completing coursework at night. Without this option, I would have missed the opportunity to develop new skills which enabled me to help my own son and would one day, after my children were grown, I assumed, provide assistance to other children and families in similar situations. After a few more moves, we eventually ended up here in Vernal nearly 4 years ago. Because of the temporary nature of my husband's positions up to that point, I had been unable to pursue the graduate degree necessary to begin work as a speech-language pathologist. By the time we knew he had a job with Utah State and we'd be moving to Vernal, deadlines for application had passed. However, we had realized by now that our son's increasing medical needs required a second income, and I once again found myself teaching. Though not what I had originally envisioned, I enjoyed it, and I found that my additional education had provided insight and skills which were continuing to benefit the children that I taught. We were making it work, and things seemed to be going pretty smoothly. Still, I knew I needed to complete a master's degree, and now that we were settled and could count on at least a few years in one place, we decided the time was right. USU came to the rescue yet again with a program designed to meet the growing need for therapists in rural school districts throughout the state. The flexibility and innovation of this program would enable me to continue helping support our family, as well as serving local students by working as a speech therapist in the schools, while also allowing me to obtain the skills and training necessary to achieve my goal. So, nearly 14 years after completion of my first USU degree, I began a third, again in Logan for the first summer semester of my master's program. Though a difficult time of separation from my family, fortunately, it was only one summer, since the majority of my program could be completed from home here in the Basin. But my path was once again altered when 2 weeks into fall semester, our son unexpectedly passed away. He had been the inspiration for me pursuing this new degree, and his loss initially took much of the wind from my sails. However, I found support and encouragement not only from my family, but now from new classmates, colleagues, and professors as well, all pushing, pulling, lifting, and buoying me through to completion of my goal. I was reminded again that though the knowledge and skills I had used to help Ian through difficulties with communication, speech, eating, and swallowing had been invaluable to me in caring for him, they were not now wasted, and that I could share them to benefit other families. Now, having marched again to a solemn processional tune, I stand before you today overwhelmed with gratitude that I have been the beneficiary of USU's vision and commitment to extend quality education to all students. I have received valuable training through USU, first as a traditional on-campus student, then through an entirely online program, and finally through combined IVC and face-to-face delivery, which would not have been possible without the flexibility offered through this variety of program models. My education has blessed my life and that of my family, and has also enabled me to contribute to my community wherever we have lived. Over the years, as I've contemplated my initial plan and compared it to the direction my life has actually taken, I have often thought of Robert Frost's poem, The Road Not Taken. My road has diverged many times from its original course, and though I could not see where they would lead, Utah State University programs have helped make it possible for me to navigate each necessary fork. I have taken the road less traveled, and the relationships, mentoring, and education that have enriched my life has made all the difference. I thank USU administration and faculty for their dedication and commitment to their students, and look forward to the opportunity of a lifetime of continued learning in whatever happily ever after may follow. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kathy Mangum. Today, I want to tell you all a little bit about my journey through college. When I was young, going to college wasn't something that I thought about often. My brother and I grew up on welfare with my single, disabled mother. My mom was often sick, and we spent a lot of time in hospitals and clinics for her health. Because of this, I was exposed to the medical profession early and often. One of my mom's physicians, Dr. Groves, took me under his wing, he taught me about medicine, and he sparked a desire in me to pursue a career as a physician. Following high school, I didn't have very much money, but I was determined to go to college someday, although I did take a few detours along the way. I was intrigued by the military, so I spent 3 years serving in the United States Army National Guard. After I was discharged, I received a nursing license and spent 2 years working as a licensed practical nurse here in Vernal. In the back of my mind, I still wanted to become a physician, but I didn't quite know how to make my dream a reality. I began by taking classes at Utah State University, Uintah Basin, while I was working as a nurse, but it was sometimes difficult to work around my class schedule. My class sizes in the Uintah Basin were an advantage to me, or the small class sizes were an advantage to me. I felt comfortable asking my professors questions during and after class and learning more about their research endeavors. While studying for these classes, I got to know my peers really well, and I made lifelong friends. I even married one of my best friends from class. My classes were intriguing, and they created a thirst for learning and understanding the world around me more fully. After completing organic chemistry during my sophomore year of college, I received the opportunity to work as an organic chemistry lab technician, designing new anti-cancer medications at USU Uintah Basin. My organic chemistry professor and new boss, Dr. Mike Christiansen, was inspiring to work for. He taught me about making new medications and how research has vastly expanded our knowledge base and improved lives. As an undergraduate, I was allowed to perform research that many students have to wait until graduate school to perform. Researching taught me about hard work and gave me the confidence in my ability to design and synthesize new medications. Because of my research efforts, I am a co-author on multiple publications with future publications in the making. I was selected to be the Undergraduate Researcher of the Year for the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry, as well as for the College of Science at Utah State University. I competed for this award against all Utah State University students, including students from the Logan, Maine campus. Understanding science was fulfilling, and I wanted to teach others as well. I spent my junior and senior years tutoring students in chemistry, microbiology, and physiology. I never would have known that I enjoy teaching if it weren't for this tutoring opportunity. For 2 consecutive years, I was elected to serve as a Vernal campus representative at Utah State University. Serving on student government helped teach me leadership skills, and I enjoyed getting to know our diverse student body here in the Uintah Basin. My undergraduate education has meant a lot to me. I have connected with people that I normally wouldn't have had the opportunity to meet. I've gained confidence and skills that will help me for the rest of my life. The research that I've been a part of will stick with me and always give me a sense of pride and accomplishment. During this past year, I took a leap and I applied to medical school to become a physician. My experience during college helped me to have confidence and a strong application. Many of my professors gave me advice and helped me to edit and proofread my application so that it was ready to be received by medical schools. I was honored to be invited to fly all over the country to interview at prestigious medical schools. Many of the interviewers at these universities were impressed by how well my professors seemed to know me from my letters of recommendation. They were also impressed by the level of research that I was able to engage in as an undergraduate. I applied to the University of Utah School of Medicine and interviewed there back in December. They received about 3,500 applications for 122 spots. It's a very competitive program. A few months ago, I received an early acceptance to the University of Utah School of Medicine, among other medical schools. I'm excited that I will be able to achieve my dreams of becoming a physician. Although I had never envisioned it as a child, because of the research performed as an undergraduate, I intend to become a researching physician to help develop new, breakthrough means of diagnosing and treating diseases. It is also very exciting to know that the medications that I designed and synthesized as an undergraduate may one day be prescribed by me and my future colleagues as we treat patients. Attending USU was an opportunity that I will always be grateful for. It has been exciting to see all of my classmates go on to realize their dreams, and I am excited to move forward and make my dreams of becoming a physician a reality. Getting to this point in my life has been very difficult, and I've had many setbacks along the way. But no matter how hard it has been, attending college has been one of the best decisions that I have made. It is a decision that I will continue to encourage others to make in hopes that it can change another person's life as well. In closing, I want to thank those that have helped me get to this point. First, I want to thank my husband, my son, and my family for all of the support and encouragement they have provided me, especially when times have gotten tough. I would also like to thank all of my peers in the class of 2015. It has been an honor getting to know all of you, and I'm excited to hear about your future endeavors. And I want to say thank you to all of my professors who have taught me so much and lifted me up along the way. I especially want to say thank you to Mike Christiansen, who's helped me every time that I have run to him for help. And I want to thank all of you in the audience for coming to this commencement ceremony today. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron, and thank you, Kathy. President Albrecht will now confer the degrees. After this conferral, we would ask the faculty marshals to escort the graduates to the stand.
Let me just quickly add my thank you, Ken, for a wonderful commencement address, and thank you, Aaron and Kathy. I think we've all been inspired and uplifted by the wonderful examples you've set. Graduates, would you please arise? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the state of Utah and by the State Board of Regents, I confer upon you the degree appropriate to the requirements that you have met. Congratulations, Utah State University class of 2015.
Our doctoral degree recipient tonight, in the Emma Eccles-Jones College of Education and Human Services, Lance T. Hatch, graduating with a Doctorate of Philosophy in Education. Candidates for master's degrees in the Emma Eccles-Jones College of Education and Human Services, Aaron A. Brown, Communicative Disorders and Deaf Education. Jessica Marie Evans, Elementary Education. Aubrey H. Whiting, Special Education. Jane R. Pierce, Elementary Education. Paula J. Jenkins, Elementary Education. Priscilla Ann Udall Deaver, Instructional Technology and Learning Sciences. In the College of Science, Danica E. Foley, Mathematics. In the College of Business, Gina Anderson. Sorry. These are our bachelor's degree candidates. In the John M. Huntsman School of Business, in the Emma Eccles Jones College of Education and Human Services. In Family and Consumer and Human Development, Marianne E. Claiborne. Jessica L. Wilkins. In Interdisciplinary Studies, Monica Ferry. In Special Education and Rehabilitation, Tara L. Maylett. Zina D. Murray. In Teacher Education and Leadership, Alyssa K. Bauer. Shelby L. Erkenbrack. Lacey J. Holt. Megan E. Lemon. In the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, in English, Autumn D. Sutton. In History, Camille Harrison. Majin Mansfield. Amy L. Johnson. In Interdisciplinary Studies, Michelle D. Simmons. Candidates in the S.J. and Jesse E. Quinney College of Natural Resources. In Wildland Resources, A. John Silcox. In the College of Science, in Biology, Tanner J. Allen. Kathy L. Mangum. Jake E. Richardson. Our candidates for associate's degrees in the Associate of Science in Criminal Justice, George J. Dean. Sasha N. Hyatt. Associate of Science degrees, Roberta Davidson. Sorry. Robert M. Evans. Jason A. Jones, Sr. Brittany M. Kidd. Rowena Macroro. Cherie Mayer. Chelsea Muir. Kyle D. Niebergall. Diana Lauren Euler. Katie R. Potts. Abigail R. Syaz. Jesse J. Smith. Kelly F. Taylor. April D. Wallen. Associates of Applied Science and Nursing, Melissa S. Boren. Megan Carol Munoz. Shalise M. Connery. Jamie Lynn Dean. Lauren F. Lytle. Mackenzie D. Malner. Holly Olson. Eve O'Prey Nichols. Allison Alland. Megan Rose Parker. Brinley Rasmussen. Anne Marie Rousseau.
It is now my pleasure to introduce David Clark, Associate Vice President of Alumni Relations.
Graduates and fellow Aggies, congratulations again on your outstanding achievements. As the director of the Utah State University Alumni Association, it is my privilege to welcome you at this time officially to the family of Utah State University alumni. Congratulations. I'd also like to extend my personal invitation to each one of you to stay connected to your alma mater. How can you do that? Well, you can first continue your education if you can. Make learning a lifelong endeavor. You can encourage, support, mentor students who are following in your footsteps. You can attend university events. You can wear your Aggie gear with pride. You can get your Aggie license plates. All of those things keep you connected. Remember that everything that you do to promote the success of Utah State University preserves the value of your university degree in the marketplace, and it helps to ensure that other students coming along behind you will have similar opportunities. But remember also that it's not a one-way street. Your Alumni Association stands ready to serve you and be a resource for you. Stay connected through our newsletters and our social media opportunities. Take advantage of continuing education, of career services, of travel opportunities. And of course, remember that if you ever need to call us or mail us, we stand ready to help you in every way possible, reflective of what you deserve as graduates of Utah State University. So again, please stay in touch, stay connected, and go Aggies.
Thank you, David. We thank all of you for honoring and supporting our students and appreciate the sacrifices that you have all made to help our students be successful. We invite you to join us for a community barbecue and celebration at Colton Pavilion. That's 500 North, 900 West. Families and friends of graduates are requested to remain standing during the recessional until the distinguished guests, followed by the graduates, have departed from the auditorium with music provided by the Bass and Brass Quintet. With the recessional, we complete the Utah State University Uintah Basin Commencement ceremonies. These ceremonies stand adjourned. Thank you and congratulations, graduates. Please stand.